Welcome to the Mental Militia, uniting minds and freeing souls from the bonds of mental slavery and ruling class manipulation.
Hello. Welcome back. I'm looking quite regal today for you. I have the crown, and I have the full tunic with the my special cape, and very excited today to bring you the full garb. A little bit different than the last time. I do like the steampunk quite a bit. This one's also quite nice. I'll probably be buying more of these. There'll be more star appearances of your king. So very excited about that. Very exciting news. Before we get started on UCC 3-200 through the rest of that section. They fixed the stupid flashing. The way that it was like flashing all the time, that was actually an HDR setting in Windows, and I was able to figure that out and get that fixed. I was super pissed. Thank you so much for not going crazy with me on that one. I was trying to figure it out. Another video that I had done had that same mess up, so I'm very glad to have that fixed for you. Let's see. I have a few more notes. I wanted to go over a few things with you guys. I'm not sure if you guys have been seeing the gold standard stuff. There's been a lot of stuff in the news and stuff talking about going back on the gold standard. Very interesting. Does that have something to do with what we're doing? Probably. Does it have something to do with a lot of the inflation and people are scared? Probably. It's probably a combination of both. I do find that pretty fascinating. I released an AI video this morning. I'm not sure how many of you guys got to see that. It's just a screen recording on my phone, and I walk you through AI. Very interesting conversation. I'm not a big fan of AI necessarily, but it's so easily accessible now, especially on Instagram, that I went ahead and just tested it out. And I was really, really impressed, actually, with the things that came up. And I actually learned some things myself that were very fascinating. So highly recommend you check that out. It's a 20-minute video on my YouTube. Let's see. What other quick news? We just finished today. We just completed a completely new program for onboarding our clients. There is a client that is onboarded, but we haven't actually got him rolling yet. We put a pause on everything. That pause is now being removed. We have completely redeveloped all of the procedure that we're doing. We have completely redeveloped the way that we're going to be serving documents, every single part of the process, besides obviously the negotiable instruments. That part's perfect. Everything else has been needing work. We just went through a whole humongous reorganization of all of that, so you will be seeing that, probably not right away, but the next time we file some cases, we're going to be going through some pre-planning and some other things. I'm not going to get into how it all works because I don't want to tip the defense off. I want to hit them like a train that they never saw coming, okay? So that's very, very exciting. That'll be rolling out over the next month. A lot of people are running around still, even since the beginning, and you're just trying to like do things and send things in, and then it doesn't work, quote unquote, one time, and then you give up. That's stupid. I mean, I'm here reading all of UCC 3, going through this all again and again and again. If I have to go through this 100 times, thousands of times, hundreds of thousands of times, that's okay. And I don't see, I mean, you're talking about infinite money here. I don't see why everyone's in such a fucking hurry to get infinite money. I mean, it's like no one has ever had the opportunity to have infinite money. This is badass. Like, why would you be, you should enjoy the process. This is the most enjoyable. It's like going to college for 8 years and hating it and just wanting to get through it. You're going to be there for 8 fucking years. Might as well enjoy it. The fuck you doing? I wanted to say that. I wanted to say that it's been quite nice. I have not had chats like this with you guys and more of a, kind of this sort of a video type presentation where I can just talk with you guys and we can go through kind of like the course videos. I haven't had anything like this with you guys in what seems like a long time. I know there's a lot of people who have been following me for all the way back at the beginning, and for that I salute you. Those are my favorite of all my fans. You guys have told me every day I hear it, can't believe how big this has gotten over the past couple of years. Can't believe what's happening. Can't believe what you're finding. I understand. I am completely obsessed. All I do all day long is think about this stuff, or read about it, or answer emails about it, or write up legal briefs, or look at definitions of words, or think about the way that the definitions I already know can match together in some way, and blah 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 blah. That's all I do all day long. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I don't have a dog. I don't even have fucking plants. So, this is all I do. This is all I do. I don't have a day job. I don't do anything else. I drink a little whiskey. I dress up in fucking king outfits, and this is what I do all day. So it's been that way. I mean, I had a job 3 days a week for a huge chunk of the first, all the way up until this last, I think October of 2023 is when I left my day job. I was working 3 days a week from 10 a.m. until about 8 p.m., 3 days a week. So 4 days a week were totally open, and then the 3 days a week, honestly, frankly, the whole last year I was working there, I wasn't even there. I was just thinking about this shit and researching and reading and going fucking ballistic, and like the phone ringing, and I'd be like, oh damn, I have to answer the phone. Like that was my life. So even though I was, quote, at a job 3 days a week, I did my job. It's not like I didn't do my job, but I just wasn't, my heart wasn't in it. I wasn't really there. So, I knew that job was going to have to go. I was just very slow to do it. I was very scared to make the jump. I eventually did in September or October of last year, and the clients that I have taken on have really helped that transition take place. So big thanks to them for doing that and for making this a possibility to do full time for me. I started watching X-Files a little bit. I love X-Files. And all this research and all this shit makes me feel like Fox Mulder, man. David Duchovny. And so one of the things I did was I've always wanted, ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted one of these. Like what the cops have, like the FBI agents underneath their suit. And I know it's on the wrong side or whatever, but check this out, man. I got a fucking full-blown like FBI, like under the fucking, this is the most badass shit ever, and I fucking love it, and it fits underneath my cape perfectly. How fucking badass is that, dude? Isn't that fucking cool? Look at that. I'm an FBI king. What else? Anything else to say here? No, that's it. Okay, cool. So let's get started. You guys will notice that that whole flashy thing is cleaned up. The HDR is gone. So let's get started into part 2 of A Journey into UCC Article 3 with your host, fucking retard. All right. So let's jump in. We've got 3-201. Negotiation. What is negotiation? Negotiable instrument. What is negotiation? Negotiation means a transfer of possession, whether voluntary or involuntary, of an instrument by a person other than the issuer to a person who thereby becomes its holder. Except for negotiation by a remitter, if an instrument is payable to an identified person, negotiation requires transfer of possession of the instrument and its endorsement by the holder. If an instrument is payable to bearer, it may be negotiated by transfer of possession alone. So negotiation has to do with transferability, the what rights you have to transfer, conditions about transferring and exchanging a negotiable instrument, and then this is how cash works, like the Federal Reserve notes in your wallet. If an instrument is payable to bearer, it may be negotiated by transfer of possession alone. So when you hand the cashier a $5 bill, you are negotiating that negotiable instrument by transfer of possession alone. You don't need to endorse. That's why you sign when you use a credit card, because a credit card it hasn't been endorsed payable to the bearer yet. That's what the signature is. So when you sign it with a blank endorsement, now it's bearer security. Now it's payable to the bearer, and now it can be negotiated by transfer of possession alone, which is what you're doing. You're transferring it by possession alone back to the credit card company. Now, this word remitter is very interesting. Means a person, I think we already covered this. We should cover it again, 3-103. Means a person who purchased an instrument from the issuer if the instrument is payable to an identified person rather than the purchaser. It's funny that a lot of bills that you get from different companies and stuff, they say remittance section or remittance. It's kind of interesting. They're not assuming it's theirs already, because it's not. It's not until you negotiate it back with a blank endorsement, which is what typically happens, right? That's negotiation. Negotiation subject to rescission. Negotiation is effective even if obtained from an infant, a corporation exceeding its powers, or a person without capacity. It's also effective by fraud, duress, or mistake. And it's also effective in breach of duty or as part of an illegal transaction. Okay, that's interesting. Negotiation subject to rescission. To the extent permitted by law, negotiation may be rescinded or may be subject to other remedies, but those remedies may not be asserted against the subsequent holder in due course or a person paying the instrument in good faith and without knowledge of facts that are a basis for rescission. So as far as I can tell, this is kind of a lot of what I do in a lot of my lawsuits. So negotiation was still effective, even though it was by fraud, duress, or mistake in the case of literally everything that we've ever done. All of our mortgages, all of our car loans, everything else. So what you're doing is that negotiation is subject to a rescission. You're doing a rescission of the original blank endorsement and replacing it with a special endorsement. Negotiation may be rescinded or may be subject to other remedies. So that's kind of like one of the main things that I'm trying to do, and that's one of the main things that a lot of the litigation is going to be getting into as we progress and as we get past all of these stupid procedural aspects that the bar cards are freaking out about right now, which is just their way of saying we have no fucking idea what he's talking about and we don't want to talk about it, just by calling me crazy or calling me a sovereign citizen or whatever other horseshit they're going to pull. We're going to handle every single one of these things that they pull on us, and we're going to keep everything they pull out and throw at us, we're going to handle it, and we're going to come up with a foolproof solutions that from here on forward, they can never, ever use that ever again. And we've already developed a lot of that based off of case 1 being dismissed. So we're going to keep doing that. We're going to keep doing that. And eventually what we're going to do is we're going to wind up with this, which is where we're actually talking about in discovery rescission of a negotiable of negotiation of a negotiable instrument. That's when things are going to get interesting, because you're going to see a lot of information come out of that no one's ever seen before. And honestly, it's one of those kinds of cases that if it does get thrown out and it goes to appeals and it gets thrown out, it's one of those things that's so crazy, it's so fascinating, and there's so little information, if not no information found anywhere. It could very, very, very well be one of the very small percentage of cases that the Supreme Court will actually pick up. So the chances of one of my cases going to the Supreme Court, in my opinion, is extremely high. And at some point, maybe even at the Supreme Court level, this is what we're going to be talking about. Rescission of negotiation of a previous instrument under fraud, duress, or mistake. Just to give you an idea as to where I think we're going with this. I don't care if it takes me years. The fuck do I care? I'm having a blast. You guys are loving it. It's a fucking TV show practically at this point. And infinite money. It's infinite money. What do I give a shit if it takes 3 or 4 or 5 years of fucking nonstop work? I don't give a shit. People go to school for 8 years just to become fucking wage slaves at some piece of shit company for $16 an hour. What the fuck? I could care less, bro. I'm going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of times richer. Not that I even give a fuck, because obviously it's just so absurd where this is going that it doesn't even, money and currency and all this stuff doesn't even have any significance anymore. It just literally just doesn't mean, it's just paper, literally. In my, like, emotionally, it's just fucking paper. Like, it means nothing. Like, I don't even need it. But I'm going to be richer than Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and what's his face from Amazon? Forget the guy's name, the CEO. All combined times, plus Grant Cardone, plus Michael Jackson. I mean, you just keep going and take them all, roll them up, and times them by 500 million, and it's still not even going to come close to how much wealth. I'm going to be literally a wealth manufacturing facility. If I want to produce $280 trillion in 1 hour, no problem. Why someone wouldn't want to put in 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 years of work in order to accomplish something like that? I'm not money motivated. It's just fucking, dude, I'm having a blast. I'd be doing this even if there wasn't infinite money at the end of the rainbow.
If you think that all is lost, that every dream has faded, that the last light of hope is gone, think again. It's there within you, something that can never die.
You can live again.
The power,
Live again.
to rise, to create, to live again.
You can live again. You can live again. You can stand on your own 2 feet. You can rise up from any defeat. You can live.
Because nothing is more powerful than you.
I mean, Jesus Christ, this is fun. I am just like, the idea of oppression about finances. This whole world, there's 2 main areas, in my opinion, of oppression in this world. You've got sex and money. And I think most people would agree with me. Sex and money. So, I set out, when I was young, and I said, you know what, okay, sex and money appear to be the main issues that people have, and it appears to be the main area of oppression for a lot of what people in America and a lot of the people that I've experienced are experiencing. So I said, okay, what if I learn everything there is to know about women and love and romance and connection and feminine energy and masculine energy, and then also on the same token, what if I learned everything there is to know about money, and then that became negotiable instruments, and then that became unconditional promise to pay and order to pay, and then that became endorsements and negotiability. And so when you learn more and more and more about the areas in your life of which you feel oppressed, it's the same thing as applying Sun Tzu's rule number 1, know thy enemy. If you consider cars your enemy, and they're always breaking down, they're always giving you a hard time, and you crash them all the time, what's the solution? Sun Tzu gives you the solution. The solution is that you know what you think is your enemy. And again, the whole point of the Amnesty Coalition is your enemy only your enemy because you don't know your enemy, because you know enough about your enemy, and now what? Car's not your enemy anymore. Money's not your enemy anymore. Sex and the opposite sex or getting laid or whatever it is it's not an issue anymore. Okay? So I don't know. I think that, that is a great way to live your life, and it's a great way to exist. And the thing is that is what we're doing. And for people who think they're going to run out and write some shit on a piece of paper, they don't understand what they're doing. And they just send shit in, and it, quote, doesn't work. There's no such thing as doesn't work. Like, in my world, in my head, doesn't work just means people are going to prison. That's it. It's very simple. It's super, super fucking simple. Oh, wow. This quote didn't work. Well, boy, it sounds like someone's going to prison. I wonder who's going to prison. That's it. That's all I think. That's all I think. It's very simple. It's not that it doesn't work. Doesn't work. Most insane shit I've ever heard in my life. It's like, how long does it take to become a guitar player? How long does it take to ride a motorcycle decently? I thought I was a decent motorcycle rider when I was 17. You know, it turns out after I go to California Superbike School for the first time in like 2020, I didn't know shit. I didn't even know I didn't know anything. So, you know, we walk around, we think we know shit about things. We don't. We don't know anything. We don't know anything about, you know, I've gotten race training on how to race cars and build cars, and it's amazing how much there is in a car. A mind-blowing amount of information and different physics and all this stuff and suspension and the four major aspects to an engine, which is induction, compression, ignition, and exhaust or whatever. It's amazing. It's amazing, this world, and everything is a professional activity. Selling is an extreme professional activity that I've trained for many years to do. Negotiation is an extremely high technology, high skill thing. Computers. You know, I was a Cisco certified network technician when I was 17 years old, my first real profession. That took me years and years and years and years of work to learn that and to do that. Becoming a writer took forever for me to figure that out and do that. I was a therapist for many years. That took forever to figure out and learn. People don't respect the amount of effort and work, and it can be very enjoyable. That's the thing. And this idea that working and learning to become professional in an area is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You should enjoy the process because that's the way the world is. It's like fighting gravity. What are you going to do? Go outside and scream because there's gravity? No one does that because they're not stupid. It's the same thing in every other area. You complain because you can't go out and endorse a bill in 5 seconds and, it doesn't work. No, it's because you're fucking retarded. It's because you're literally a fucking infant or person of unsound mind, and you should probably take on a fucking attorney at fact, attorney at law, after you go down to the fucking farmer's market, find yourself a nice girthy one and sit on it, you stupid fuck. It's very simple. People's realities and people's assumptions and all this stuff is just so skewed. It's very sad. There should be more respect for this information. There should be more respect for becoming a professional in any area of life. Okay? So with that said, negotiation subject. That kind of went off on that because of this negotiation subject to rescission. It's a conversation we're going to have in the courts. This is a conversation we're going to have eventually. This is a huge flag in the ground. Once we start talking about rescission of negotiation and we start getting, that's when you're going to know Brandon's fucking close. Brandon is fucking close to some big fucking W's in the court system. Okay? We're not there yet. We're hardly even, we're on like the fucking 5-yard line, it seems like, which is okay. I'm okay with it. Okay? So, all right, UCC 3-203, transfer of instrument, rights acquired by transfer. An instrument is transferred when it's delivered by a person other than its issuer for the purpose of giving to the person receiving delivery the right to enforce the instrument. So an instrument is transferred when it is delivered by a person other than its issuer for the purpose of giving to the person receiving delivery the right to enforce the instrument. Okay. Transfer of an instrument, whether or not the transfer is a negotiation, vests in the transferee any right of the transferor to enforce the instrument, including any right as a holder in due course, but the transferee cannot acquire rights of a holder in due course by a transfer, directly or indirectly, from a holder in due course if the transferee engaged in fraud or illegality affecting the instrument. Okay, this is a tough one. We'll have to break this down. So transfer of an instrument, whether or not the transfer is a negotiation, vests in the transferee. So transferee is the person receiving. In the right of the transferor to enforce the instrument. So that means that the transferor, the one giving the instrument, is relinquishing the ability to enforce the instrument to the person who's receiving the instrument, including any right as a holder in due course. Holder in due course is a holder of the instrument. So person entitled to enforce means the holder of the instrument. A non-holder in possession of the instrument who has the rights of a holder, or a person not in possession of the instrument who is entitled to enforce the instrument. So this is the one that I use in my lawsuits. A person not in possession of the instrument who is entitled to enforce the instrument. So because we're rescinding the original negotiation, it's as if it's mine now, but I'm not in physical, I don't physically possess it. You know, like Amex physically possesses all of the negotiable instruments on the account. So I'm the person entitled to enforce under subsection 3. That's the way a lot of my lawsuits are, okay? So a holder in due course has all these rules, but it means the holder of an instrument under certain conditions. Not having forgery or alteration. The holder took the instrument for value. Oh, this is interesting. I've always wondered about the whole accepted for value thing. That must be what this is. The holder took the instrument, 1, for value, 2, in good faith, 3, without notice that the instrument is overdue or has been dishonored or that there is an uncured default. So that's what this is, for value. Interesting. I was always wondered what the fuck that was, people writing that on there. Okay. So if you are sent a bill of exchange from the IRS, oh, this is very interesting. I'm a little bit curious. I'm going to try this because I went on the AI this morning and I asked it a bunch of questions. I'm gonna ask the AI if the holder of how does a holder receive a negotiable instrument for value as per UCC 3-302? This is a very interesting question. Let's see. I'm just curious. I don't like AI that much. I don't trust it, but after fucking with it this morning and last night, it's kind of interesting. According to UCC 3-302, a holder can receive a negotiable instrument for value in the following ways. Payment. The holder pays for the instrument in good faith and without knowledge that it is overdue, dishonored, or defense encumbered. 2, loan. The holder advances funds to the maker or drawer in exchange for the instrument. 3, purchase. The holder buys the instrument from the maker or drawer or from another holder in good faith. 4, security. 5, settlement. To qualify as a holder for value, the recipient must be the holder, which means possess the instrument, have given value, for example, paid for it. Oh, because there has to be consideration or if there'd be a contract. Number 3, have taken the instrument in good faith without knowledge of any issues is the definition of good faith apparently, and then not be a party to any fraud or illegality. Interesting. Yeah, you know, I've never seen any banking institution or anything use that terminology, accepted for value. So that's kind of why I wanted to look it up a little bit more, because you see a lot of the guys on our side of the table doing this, accepted for value, but I've never seen that used by a bank. So I start, you know, that's the kind of thing that I start to, like, for example, without recourse, pay to the order of Brandon Joe Williams in all caps by Brandon Joe Williams, comma, attorney in fact. That comes straight off of the endorsements that we've been finding on mortgages and business loans. And it's just like, we're just doing exactly what they do. Whereas accepted for value, I've seen accepted for deposit when you give your check to a teller and it's not endorsed, or even if it is, depending on the type of endorsement you put on there, a lot of times they have that little stamper that says accepted for deposit. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Accepted for value. I'm not so sure about that. A for V. You've been hearing about that for years. I've been hearing about that for years. A for V. Accepted for value. all that does is make you the holder in due course. But I don't think you need to write that on the instrument. That's my point. I think that's just, if it's delivered, then that's it. You're the holder. I don't know. Holder means a person in possession of the instrument under good faith and not under fraud. I mean, the fact that you got it, the fact that they send you the goddamn thing, when your credit card company sends you a bill of exchange, every month for it says, pay $236 by October 31st, or we're gonna fucking come after you. Pretty unconditional. When you go to your mailbox and you pull the little thing out of your mailbox, you're the holder because you took the instrument for value and good faith, and it's not a fucked up thing. As far as I'm concerned, once you pull your little mail out of your mailbox, or maybe even by the time it hits your mailbox, you're now the holder in due course. As far as I'm concerned. I mean, that makes sense to me. So going back to where we were at, and we're gonna get more into that as we get into the next part 3 of this, because that one we were just looking at, holder in due course, comes from 3-302. So we're in the 200s right now. We're in part 2, which is the 200s. Okay. So let's go back. Transfer of an instrument, whether or not the transfer is a negotiation, vests in the transferee any rights of the transferor to enforce the instrument, including any right as a holder in due course. So I'm the holder in due course. I send it to you. I'm American Express. I send you the bill of exchange. I am relinquishing being the holder in due course, and now you are the holder in due course. Okay? And then that's where the endorsement comes into play. And then now you are vesting in the transferee back to American Express of the transferor to enforce the instrument that is now endorsed. And this is the whole process we've been talking about. This is performance. This is payment. Payment is performance on a duty, obligation, or contract. We've been seeing bits and pieces of this all over the place. Now what we need to do, if we want it to work and we want to take it all the way through the courts, we have to figure it all out, piece it all together, and polish it and make it fucking perfect. That's what we have to do. It doesn't mean being a dumbass, writing some shit, sending it in, and then complaining. That's called an infant or person of unsound mind.
Every day, millions of people ask, what is Scientology? Here's an idea. What if you just take a look?
See for yourself.
What if you see for yourself
No one else can see.
who we are,
No one else.
what we believe,
See for yourself.
and what we stand for? Our doors are open
See for yourself.
to all people of all faiths in every corner of the world.
Just look inside. You will know it when you see with your own eyes.
So what is Scientology?
See for yourself.
Maybe it's time to look and decide for yourself.
The individual that you need to contact, if you are behaving that way or if you are thinking in that kind of a way, is you want to immediately and as rapidly as possible contact an attorney at law. That is the correct person you should be calling. Okay? Transfer of an instrument. We're going to read this again. Transfer of an instrument, whether or not the transfer is a negotiation, vests in the transferee any right of the transferor to enforce the instrument, including any right as a holder in due course, but the transferee cannot acquire rights of a holder in due course by a transfer directly or indirectly from a holder in due course if the transferee engaged in fraud or illegality affecting the instrument. Okay, this makes sense. And this is the same thing that they just showed us in holder in due course, right? About fraud and all that kind of stuff, right? So if I send you something and it's fraudulent in any way, then the person who's receiving it doesn't become the holder in due course, which I guess would mean, well, this is interesting. This kind of changes some things, I guess. Let's see. Transfer directly from holder in due course if the transferee engaged in fraud or illegality. It's an interesting conversation because, okay, my gears are turning. So when they set the mortgage document down in front of you and they say sign here, Mr. Williams, and you sign with a blank endorsement, there's no fraud committed yet. There's no fraud until you say, whoa, hold on a second. Nobody ever was clear about the way this contract is written. Nobody ever told me about a blank versus a qualified versus a special endorsement. I call fraud. I claim fraud. Now we have fraud. So you become the holder in due course, and you are able to endorse the instrument. We're changing all the endorsements though, so it changes everything. So we're not saying there was fraud necessarily in the negotiation originally. We're saying there's actually fraud in the contract. And well, it's a bit tough. Something to think about. If there's fraud, it doesn't work out. But anyways, it's not fraud until you kind of say it's fraud, and then it's fraud because of a breach of contract, not necessarily because there was something actually fraudulent involving the actual negotiable instrument itself. Like within the confines of like, what is a negotiable instrument and how is negotiation and what is an endorsement? Like there's not really any fraud there necessarily. The fraud is in the actual contractual breach, which is in the fact that they never told you about the qualified or blank or special endorsement, and they coerced you into creating this valuable instrument and then releasing it without conditions. So it's more of like a contractual fraud than it is a negotiable instrument fraud, even though it could be considered a negotiable instrument fraud, but by the letter of the law and the bank and the banking, it's all by the book. It's just coercion in terms of how they had you do it. I hope that makes sense. It's more like contractual coercion to make you behave in a certain way with endorsements, but the way in which you behaved with the endorsements isn't in itself illegal, which I've said a million times. Signing with a blank endorsement is not illegal. There's nothing illegal about that. Now, you get in front of a jury and you explain all this to them, they're going to say, these fuckers stole your shit, and they stole all my shit, and I'm pissed. But that's because a jury can be more emotional, and they can think more along the lines of ethics and morals, right? In the letter of the law and the letter of UCC Article 3, all of that is not part of the equation. A blank endorsement and getting you to sign a blank endorsement, if you never pipe up and you never say it's anything and you never say it's fraud and you never make a fuss, everything they're doing is legal. Everything the bank is doing is legal. Just to be clear. People are like, oh, this is illegal, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's actually not. Now, once you write a special endorsement on it and you state the payee, and then they come after you afterward, or if you write without recourse, and it's a qualified endorsement, and then they come after you afterward, now that is illegal. So you sign the document without recourse, you give it back, time goes on, they don't ever call you, which I have had reports of that, by the way. They just fucking disappear off the face of the earth, and your car's free, whatever. That's totally legal. Now, if you endorse without recourse, and then in a month they send you a bill of exchange, and you call them, and you want to be friendly. Hey, the original instrument was endorsed without recourse, so I'm not sure why you're sending me a bill of exchange, because the thing is that performance on this is not required. I just want to let you know I'm not going to be performing on this bill of exchange because I don't need to, because you accepted the original negotiable instrument endorsed without recourse. So I'm not sure if you're just fishing or what you're trying to do, but I just want to let you know. And then you'd also send them, some kind of affidavit. Send them back the bill of exchange and say, hey, I signed the original, I endorsed the original negotiable instrument without recourse. I'm not, maybe there's just some confusion. You shouldn't just jump to they're crazy and they all know, and if they knew, they wouldn't be there. Again, I'm telling you, Why would you work as a... Dude, I'm telling you, when people start learning about all this shit, all these finance jobs and underwriters and lawyers and financial professionals and all these jobs, these people are all going to leave. There's going to be a mass exodus. There's not going to be any of these people working in any of these Ford Finance. Everyone's going to leave. That's what's going to happen. I don't care. It's not my job to try and play God in the world and try to figure out what the best thing to do. The best thing to do always is to communicate the truth in a calm, peaceful, fun, easy to listen to way. That is always the correct thing to do. Always. If the whole fucking world explodes and there's burning buildings on every street corner, I'm going to do everything I can to just be like, hey, let's just look at the truth. Let's sit down and have a drink and have a laugh and maybe make a bonfire and play some guitar. I'm not really a hippie. Maybe I am. Didn't know it. And let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about what is all this stuff, you know? And I truly believe that this is how it's going to go. Everyone's going to start talking about all this shit. Okay, like they already are. And everyone's going to go fucking crazy and everyone's so excited and everyone's getting cars and houses and then you have adverse possession. So like you think my shit's fucking cool as fuck, right? And then you go on to fucking, you know, and I've been talking about him a lot more recently. You go on to Moorish Lighthouse Official with Jaleel. I think his name is Jaleel. This dude's talking all about, you know, man claims $250,000 house for free. So we've got adverse possession. So you guys think that, you know, that because of the inflation and everything, you know, everyone's losing their house and all this. Doesn't matter, bro. Doesn't matter. Don't be scared. Doesn't mean a fucking thing. Inflation doesn't mean a fucking thing. It doesn't mean a fucking thing. Homelessness doesn't mean a fucking thing. We've got endorsing instruments. We've got adverse possession, which is an entirely different process that you can use to take over abandoned homes. The banks, the only way the banks can steal everyone's home is if we don't understand this information. That's the only way it can happen. It can't happen any other way, bro. I'm telling you. They can't steal everything. They're trying to steal everything. It's okay. It's not a big fucking deal. We know how to endorse. We know how to perform. We're starting to understand adverse possession. They don't stand a fucking chance. They don't stand a chance. And then we have all the nationality stuff that we're doing. That's a whole nother story. You know, I'm sure we're going to start seeing lawsuits on the Department of State end of things. Why is it that the DS-11 has the boxes on the upper right for the diplomatic and the service and the official passport and the regular passport, the no-fee regular? We got endorsement box. Why is it that when people put the endorsements in there, they're not giving us the endorsements? They're saying that we need to go to a embassy and we need to have a, whatever they call it, I forget what they call it, someone who vouches for us. There's this term that they use. That's all bullshit. I've never seen any of that shit in law. These people have no fucking clue. They're just making shit up. Maybe they aren't, but it sounds like they are to me. And let's just get the lawsuits going. Let's get into discovery, and let's have a long, drawn-out conversation. To them, it's going to be a very painful situation. To us, it's going to be a beautiful conversation. So, you know, I haven't gotten into all that yet, but that's on my timeline. DMV, Department of State. I don't really want to beat the Department of State's head in. The Department of State's been pretty good to us, and I don't hate them. Now, there's two types of things you can file. You can file a complaint, which is what we typically file and what you're seeing a lot of, and then you can also file what's called a petition. A petition is basically just a different type of lawsuit to force someone to do something. I don't know a lot about petitions, but I'm thinking in my head that at some point, you know, what we'll probably do is we'll probably get involved in some sort of a petition or class action petition, if that even exists. I don't know, to try to go into discovery with the Department of State in an effort to really sort out all of this craziness involving citizenship and 8 USC 408 and 8 USC 401 and American Samoa and Guam and the Virgin Islands, and just we're just going to tear it all apart, and we're going to talk about it like it's 1871 slaughterhouse cases all over again. Which, by the way, if everyone should be familiar with the slaughterhouse cases of 1871. Those are that's the series of Supreme Court cases where they determined that the 14th Amendment meant that there's two types of citizenship classes: the federal citizen category and the state citizen category. It's very easy to find. Google will immediately, without any censorship, if you type in slaughterhouse cases Supreme Court, or any of the above type of terminology into Google, it will tell you immediately and openly that those cases we're talking about the two types of citizenship found in the beginning and the opening of the 14th Amendment. Okay? So we're probably about ready to have the slaughterhouse cases all over again. But it's going to be a lot more to talk about. I mean, almost everything I'm doing is probably going to wind up in the Supreme Court at some point, right? Which is fantastic. I'm going to show up looking like this, bro. Hello! This is the King from the Amnesty Coalition, here to speak to you today about 8 USC 1401 and 8 USC 1408. And they say, oh, you're a citizen because you were born in the United States, and there's nothing you can ever do about it, which is how they behave right now. And it's like, whoa, wait a second. That sounds like involuntary servitude. The 13th Amendment, that's highly illegal as per the 13th Amendment. Oh, well, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's really talk about it. Let's dig into the history. Let's dig into where it came from. Let's dig into the definitions. You're not going to tell me I was born in state of Indiana. I wasn't. So that's all assumptions. It's all horse shit anyways. So that's where all this is headed. I just want you guys to know that. The negotiable instruments is one thing. We've got the DMV. We've got driving, commercial driving. We've got certificates of title being negotiable instruments. We've got, as far as I can tell, registration is the Motor Vehicle Theft Prevention Program of 34 USC 12611. And I've had a lot of people tell me that it's not. They're like, that the Motor Vehicle Theft Prevention Program was adopted in 1994, blah, 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 and we had registration before that point. I've heard this. I've seen the comments. I don't know. That program, as far as I can tell, is the closest thing I've ever seen to what the cops are actually doing. Think about it. When the cops pull you over, what are they actually doing? They're running down a checklist. What are they doing? They have no fucking clue what they're doing. So what are they doing? When I read the Motor Vehicle Theft Prevention Program, I'm like, bingo. This is everything they're doing. So if it's not the Motor Vehicle Theft Prevention Program, then it's something very, very similar to it. Or maybe it wasn't called the Motor Vehicle Theft Prevention Program before 1994. Maybe it was called something else. I don't know. I just know that when I read the Motor Vehicle Theft Prevention Program and I look at what the police officer is trying to do on a checklist whenever he pulls anybody over, to me it fits perfectly. Maybe I'm wrong. That's okay. It's the closest thing I've ever seen. So for right now, that's what it is, as far as I'm concerned. So, with that said, let's get back to 3-203. Transfer of instrument, rights acquired by transfer. Okay, so where were we? I think we were in subsection C. Unless otherwise agreed, let me just, if an instrument is transferred for value and the transferee does not become a holder because of lack of endorsement by the transferor, interesting, the transferee has a specifically enforceable right to the unqualified endorsement of the transferor, but negotiation of the instrument does not occur until the endorsement is made. Oh, okay, this is fascinating. This might be what we're doing. Ooh, let's break this down. Who doggy? Who doggy? Unless otherwise agreed, if an instrument is transferred for value and the transferee does not become a holder because of lack of endorsement by the transferor, The transferee has a specifically enforceable right to the unqualified endorsement of the transferor. But negotiation of the instrument does not occur until the endorsement is made, unless otherwise agreed. If an instrument is transferred for value, the transferee does not become a holder because of lack of endorsement by the transferor. So this is what it's saying. You send me a negotiable instrument that doesn't have any horse shit on it. It's not fraudulent, and it's in good faith. And you don't endorse it. There's no endorsement on it from you to me. Then I have a enforceable right to the unqualified endorsement of the transferor. Unqualified. So unqualified means like doesn't have any limitations. This is fucked. If I had to tell you what I thought this meant, but I'm like 90% sure I understand this. You can essentially endorse on behalf of the transferee. Maybe that's what we're doing. Maybe when they send us the bill of exchange and they don't put an endorsement on it, we're endorsing on their behalf. I don't know. It's something like that. Unless otherwise agreed, if the instrument is transferred for value and the transferee, meaning the sender, I'm sorry, that's the receiver. So let me replace some of these words. Unless otherwise agreed, if an instrument is transferred for value, which doesn't seem to mean much, and the sender does not become a holder because of lack of endorsement by the sender, the receiver has a specifically enforceable right to the unmitigated endorsement of the sender. But negotiation of the instrument does not occur until the endorsement is made. This is a tough one. I would probably say if the sender doesn't endorse it and you receive it, you have the power to endorse on behalf of the sender and yourself, essentially. Like you're basically the king. You got the fucking king crown and the fucking cape and the tunic. I don't know if I'm wrong. Tell me. I don't know. That's what I get from this. I'll read this again. I read all this shit a million times, and it might seem in this video like I haven't. You guys think I'm fucking perfect. You guys think I've got an IQ of like 487,000. You guys think that I read this shit one time and I just like fucking hover into the air, and my body turns into like fucking energy, and I just like drift into the atmosphere and I become one with the heavens, and there's fucking plants and tulips, and there's bunnies, and there's music and violins and cellos, and that's just not how it is. I mean, sorry to burst your bubble. I've had fucking Christians think that I'm the second coming of Christ, which is crazy to me. I'm just a guy who reads this shit a billion fucking times, and I try to understand. So let's say I read this, and all of a sudden I'm like, what the fuck was that? I go, unless otherwise agreed, comma, if an instrument is transferred. That's how I do this. That's all I do. And then I go through and I'm like, transferee. Brakes. What does that mean? And I won't do nothing until I figure it out. I'll sit here for fucking 6 months.
It's time to rediscover the human soul. Not the mystical, the metaphysical, or the supernatural. We're talking about the source of your abilities, your motivation, your vitality. The thing that makes you, you. We're offered a dream of convenience, but what of self-fulfillment? happiness, peace of mind. No more speculating. No more of this or this, but this. It's time to find out for yourself. To look. To know. It's time to rediscover the human soul.
That's all I do. Now, as far as I can tell, I've read this, and I don't think there's anything here that I don't understand. But you know what? In 3 months, someone's going to show me some definition of something in here, transferer, that I've never seen, and no one's ever seen, and no one's ever seen it, and it's some from fucking crazy fucking banking thing from 1915, and all of a sudden I plug that in, and then boom, all this makes sense now. Maybe I'm missing something. Okay? I'm not perfect. If I'm perfect, that means that nobody else can learn any of this. And that's just false. That's false information. If we don't learn this, we are fucked. This country is fucked. So please do not assume that I am perfect. We have to learn this. We have to read it as many fucking times as we need to. We have to look up every word in every dictionary, everything. It has to be done. There's so much homeless. There's so much insanity. Rent is $2,000 a month. Everything is out of control. They're talking about putting everything back on the gold standard. We have to keep going. This is what's going to happen. We have to get everything. I mean, I don't like telling people what to do. If we keep going, we're going to get back on the gold standard. We don't even need to fucking say anything, and we're going to get back on the gold standard. So, combined with all the inflation, there's a lot of fucking talk and interest about this right now. You go to your dumbass fucking friends who want to smoke pot out of an old Coke can. You know, that's your issue, man. There's a lot of fucking people out there that want this information, man. I can't even take a piss without somebody asking me something. It's getting to the point where people are starting to recognize me in public all the time, looking at me. They don't say anything. I notice it a lot now. They look at me, and they kind of look at me, and they're like looking at me like, fuck, I think I know that guy. And they never say anything. I'm starting to get a lot of that. It's starting to happen in my life. Okay? Now, the reason why is because people are nervous. They're nervous about the WHO talking about how, they're going to force all citizens to fucking receive the you-know-what. People are upset about that. I saw a press release about that yesterday. People are upset about runaway inflation. Can't afford anything. Schools are fucked. People are worried about that. A lot of things happening. And as far as I'm concerned, the Amnesty Coalition, we have 3, I'm actually going to write this on the fucking question and answer section today. I have it on my notes. We are concerned with a few things. Our main concerns are, 1, to clean up nationality versus citizenship. What does it mean? People have the right to choose, as per Article 15, Section 2 of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. And you said the UN's biggest piece of shit in the world. I got it. They wrote the goddamn thing. We're going to hold their feet to the fire to fucking follow it. Okay? Everyone has the right to change their nationality whenever they want. And no one can stop you from changing your nationality. End of story. So if the corporation called the United States wants to try to stop that, that's an international human rights violation. End of story. It's not it didn't work. Didn't work. Didn't work. No. You're an infinite person of unsound mind, and you need to retain a attorney at law as rapidly as possible. Didn't work. Didn't work. There's hicks that don't have any teeth that are living in the middle of nowhere that have more brain cells to rub together than you do. Didn't work. Didn't work. Didn't work. Fucking retard. Infant or person of unsound mind. Okay? Call a bar cart. They can help you. Don't call the hospital. They can't help you. The bar card is who you should call. Call the bar card. Okay? Section D. If a transferor purports to transfer less than the entire instrument, negotiation of the instrument does not occur. The transferee obtains no rights under this article and has only the rights of a partial assignee. That's interesting. If a sender purports to transfer less than the entire instrument, negotiation of the instrument does not occur. So if someone tries to like split up a promissory note and say like you get some and you get some or something, then it doesn't really transfer. You can only transfer the full amount of the full value, I guess. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone trying this or any banking institution doing this, so I always try to think of examples, and with this one, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this occur. I've never even heard of anything like this occur, so I guess maybe because this rule is here, that is why I've never seen anything like that. And it's probably, that might even be why they have this rule, to prevent that sort of craziness from occurring. I don't know. Okay? Endorsement 3-204. I-N-D-O-R-S-E-M-E-N-T. Endorsement means a signature other than that of a signer as a maker, drawer, or acceptor that alone or accompanied by other words is made on an instrument for the purpose of negotiating the instrument, restricting payment of the instrument, incurring endorsers' liability on the instrument, but regardless of the intent of the signer, a signature and its accompanying words is an instrument unless the accompanying words, terms of the instrument, place of the signature, or other circumstances unambiguously indicate that the signature was made for a purpose other than endorsement. It's interesting, like we saw in the first video, they were talking about intent. Like if you intend to endorse the instrument to one person, but somehow it ends up being written to another person, then it actually, the person you intended to endorse it to is the person it's actually endorsed to. So what they're saying in a lot of this UCC 3 stuff, they're saying that the intent is a huge part of all this. And whatever the intent is, even though whatever ended up getting on the paper might be a little bit different, whatever the original intent was is always going to be what the instrument or the negotiation is going to be, which I find interesting because it's just like in law, intent is a huge part of law. Intent is the difference between manslaughter and murder, for example, right? So for the purpose of determining whether a signature is made on an instrument, a paper affixed to the instrument is part of the instrument. So that's interesting because like we've seen before, what is an allonge? A slip of paper affixed to a negotiable instrument, such as a bill of exchange, for the purpose of receiving additional endorsements for which there may not be sufficient space on the bill of itself. An endorsement written on the allonge is deemed to be written on the bill itself. So like it says here, for the purpose of determining whether a signature is made on an instrument, a paper affixed to the instrument is part of the instrument. That's what it's saying here. An endorsement written on the allonge is deemed to be written on the bill itself. An allonge is an extension of the bill or promise. And we can see that on some of the allonges that I have collected here on the State National Resources page. I believe I have one allonge to show you. Here we go. God damn it. Allonge to promissory note. Very simple. It's got all the same info. So this is considered now, when it's attached, it fuses to the bill of exchange or promissory note. That's essentially what they're saying here and what they're saying here. So if you see an allonge, it's real. It's literally fused to the original negotiable instrument. Okay? Endorser means the person who makes an endorsement. For the purpose of determining whether the sender of an instrument is a holder, an endorsement that transfers a security interest in the instrument is effective as an unqualified endorsement of the instrument. Not totally sure. An endorsement that transfers a security interest in the instrument is effective as an unqualified endorsement. Not totally sure what that means. That this might be something sort of like what you see on a certificate of title. Your name is listed as a registered owner, which means you have a security interest in the vehicle. If that's what they're talking about here, then when they send you the certificate of title, that particular aspect of security interest is effective as an unqualified endorsement of the instrument. But I guess that instrument would only give you that specific qualified, I don't know. I don't totally know on this one. I think it means that if you have a 10% stake and we send you a negotiable instrument that says 10%, then that negotiable instrument is that 10% fully or something. I don't totally know what this one means. Okay. If an instrument is payable to a holder under a name that is not the name of the holder, endorsement may be made by the holder in the name stated in the instrument or in the holder's name or both. If an instrument is payable to a holder under a name that is not the name of the holder, endorsement may be made by the holder in the name stated in the instrument or in the holder's name or both. Okay, so if someone intends to send you, let's say you get a certificate of title and they intended to send it to you, which is obvious, but there's a misspelling of your name, or for a lot of women, it's like the incorrect maiden name or last name. It says here, endorsement may be made by the holder in the name stated or in your actual name or both. But signature in both names may be required by a person paying or taking the instrument for value or collection. This is interesting. I get a lot of questions about this. Oh, I got this name and my birth certificate was spelled wrong and I this and that. So what this is saying, and this might clean up the whole subject actually. This is very, very fascinating. I hope a lot of people realize how important this one actually is. If I get a negotiable instrument and it says Brandy Joseph Williams, I can endorse the instrument and I would sign both names, Brandy Joseph Williams and Brandon Joe Williams. And then maybe I would have like a little star and it would say correct name equals Brandon Joe Williams. And that would actually endorse the instrument. A lot of people are freaked out. They're like, oh, do I need to change my name? Do I need to go through a name change? Do I need to do all this? I didn't have the answer to that, so I always tell people I don't know. This, I believe, is probably the answer to that question. If there are any certs of title, marriage licenses, driver's licenses, anything under the sun, moon, and stars, if it's got the wrong name on it, but the intent was to have it sent to you for sure without question. Absolutely no question. It's got the address of you. It's got the birthday of you. It's got all. Then at that point you would just endorse the instrument as per UCC 3-204 subsection D. You would just endorse the instrument with both names. Very powerful. And there's a lot of confusion on this. This is a very, very good to know. This actually changes a lot for me personally. This is very powerful. This is very nice teaching you guys because I'm having to really critically think on this. This is the one in my 10-minute video talking about the special and the blank endorsement. You guys have already seen this one. If an endorsement is made by the holder of an instrument, whether payable to an identified person or payable to bearer, and the endorsement identifies a person to whom which the instrument is payable, it is a special endorsement. Special endorsement states the payee. When specially endorsed, an instrument becomes payable to the identified person and may be negotiated only by the endorsement of that person. Good. That's actually pretty simple. If an endorsement is made by the holder of an instrument and it is not special endorsed, meaning does not state the payee, it is a blank endorsement, which is what everyone does. When endorsed in blank, an instrument becomes payable to bearer and may be negotiated by transfer or possession, by transfer of possession alone until specially endorsed, which is interesting. I probably read this 100 times, but now I'm starting to really get it. When endorsed in blank, an instrument becomes payable to bearer and may be negotiated by transfer of possession alone until specially endorsed. The banks special endorse it. They state the payee, bam, right away. But if they want to flip it over to their buddies and their buddies want to flip it to their buddies and their buddies want to flip it over to their buddies, and then the third guy in line running the train on you decides to finally special endorse it, that's where negotiation of that instrument would then end. Do you see how that works? Because now they're going to go to the window. The holder may convert a blank endorsement that consists only of a signature into a special endorsement by writing above the signature of the endorser words identifying the person to whom the instrument is made payable. And that's what we're doing. Paid to the order of Brandon J. Williams. The holder may convert a blank endorsement. Interesting. That might actually be applicable to my lawsuits too. Convert a blank endorsement. You would need to be the holder though. But remember, a holder can be somebody who's not in possession of the note but has power of being a holder through fraud. Again, that's what I'm doing in a lot of my lawsuits. I'm becoming the holder by saying, no, this is fraud. Boom. Now I'm the holder. Now I can write orders. Now I replace the blank endorsement with a special endorsement. That's what I'm doing, right? Here we have, this is a strange one that I've never looked into too much. Anomalous endorsement. Means an endorsement made by a person who is not the holder of the instrument. It does not affect the manner in which the instrument may be negotiated. I don't know what the fuck this is. So I can grab an instrument. I'm not the holder. I can just write shit on it, and whatever I write doesn't mean anything. But for some reason, it's still considered an anomalous endorsement. I don't know. No idea. I guess the only thing I can think about this is just be careful. If you see endorsement and the person who endorsed it or wrote shit on it was never the holder, it's not negotiated. You can call bullshit on that. I don't know. I can't think of any other reason why that's interesting. Restrictive endorsement, UCC 3-206. An endorsement limiting payment to a particular person or otherwise prohibiting further transfer or negotiation of the instrument is not effective to prevent further transfer or negotiation of the instrument. It limits it. Like, for example, for deposit only would be a restrictive endorsement, right? Prohibiting further transfer or negotiation of the instrument. Non-negotiable. Writing that on the instrument would be a restrictive endorsement. Okay? In the AI conversation that I had that I uploaded this morning, there's a bunch of examples of this that the AI gave me that you should check out. Very interesting. Very good examples. Highly recommended to watch that video, the AI video that I did, okay? B, an endorsement stating a condition to the right of the endorsee to receive payment. An endorsement stating a condition to the right of the endorsee to receive payment does not affect the right of the endorsee to enforce the instrument. An endorsement stating a condition to the right of the endorsee to receive payment does not affect the right of the endorsee to enforce the instrument. So if you write on there some kind of condition for them to receive payment, it doesn't mean shit, basically. That's because the in order to be a negotiable instrument, it has to be unconditional. It can't be conditional. So if you write conditions on it, they can be ignored. They're horseshit. Basically, I mean that just violates the whole purpose, the whole point. A person paying the instrument or taking it for value or collection may disregard the condition, and the rights and liabilities of that person are not affected by whether the condition has been fulfilled. Now, actually, this is very interesting. I've known this and I've read this many times, but now here I am teaching you guys, and it gets my head going like a goddamn motorcycle. When the banks and the mortgages and these companies talk shit and they say, no, you need to do this, it's all horse shit. That's all part of this. A person paying the instrument or taking it for value or collection may disregard the condition. And the rights and liabilities of that person are not affected by whether the condition has been fulfilled. So don't argue with them about this stuff. Just ignore them. Everything they say is horseshit. You can use this. 3-206 subsection B. Use this in litigation. Any condition they give you. No, Your Honor, they stated a condition for me as the endorsee to receive payment, and that does not affect the right to for the endorsee to enforce the instrument. And actually, as per UCC 3-206 subsection B, I can disregard that condition, and the rights and liabilities of myself are not affected by whether that condition has been fulfilled. It's just, fuck you. Everything you say is cocksuckery. It's irrelevant. So if they start saying anything about anything, you would say, objection, irrelevant. And this is why. It's totally fucking irrelevant. Okay? If an instrument bears an endorsement in blank or to a particular bank using the words for deposit, for collection, so we're seeing some examples here. These are examples of restrictive endorsements, or other words indicating a purpose of having the instrument collected by a bank for the endorser or for a particular account, the following rules apply. A person other than a bank who purchases the instrument when so endorsed converts the instrument unless the amount paid for the instrument is received by the endorser, blah, blah, blah. A depository bank. Okay, we're going a bit overboard here. I don't know. This is specifically only involving these two types of restrictive endorsements, so I'm not going to get into all this and spend an hour talking about this. You can look this up for yourself. It's not, as far as I can tell, right now, it doesn't seem to be super, super critical for what we're trying to do. Maybe it will be. It looks like a cool tool to have. I am going to skip over this. This looks very complicated and not extremely important for us at this exact moment in time. Except for an endorsement covered by subsection C, which is the one we just saw, if an endorsement bears an instrument using words to the effect that payment is to be made to the endorsee as agent, trustee, or other fiduciary for the benefit of the endorser or another person, the following rules apply. So this is if the endorsement says that payment on the negotiable instrument is to be made to the person receiving this as agent, trustee, or other fiduciary. So, okay, wait, hold on. Interesting. So, person purchases the instrument from the endorsee or takes the instrument. This is interesting. This is kind of blowing my mind a little bit. Hold on. So what I get from this, and it may be a bit of a stretch. let's say, like for right now, in case number one, my client's about ready to get sanctions. Okay. Now let's say that my client is going to receive an unconditional order to pay. Okay. Now, reading this, what I think is we're going to take that unconditional order to pay from the court. We're going to endorse it, and we're going to make the payment of that endorsement payable to the court as agent, trustee, or other fiduciary for the benefit of my client, which is going to just rip their skull clean off. If we did that, then the payment from the Federal Reserve window would go to the court. And then from the court, it would be dispersed to the other client. I got some haters that are on my shit, and they're like, "Oh, Brandon's client's going to get sanctioned." Yeah, right. If you think the client's going to be paying out of some deposit account that he has at some bank or some trust, you're sadly mistaken. We're going to have some real fun. I guarantee you the case is going to get zipped up with what we're going to be doing. We are going to be performing on an unconditional order to pay. So you just watch. People think I'm in trouble. People think I'm getting lowered into the fucking soup, and I'm over here just laughing, bro. Laughing. We'll see what happens. We'll see. People think it's all over. People think the dominoes are fucking going down for Brandon Joe Williams, and oh boy, we're barely getting the party started. The drinks are just starting to flow, my friends. But I'm not sure on this last one. That's probably what I would do on this last one. Okay, I'm not going to get into all the details on this. It's just a lot. I'm not going to. You can read that for yourself. The presence on an instrument of an endorsement to which this section applies does not prevent a purchaser of the instrument from becoming a holder in due course of the instrument unless the purchaser is a converter. Instrument of an endorsement to which this section applies does not prevent a purchaser of the instrument. Not totally sure on this one. I feel like we're kind of off in the weeds with these. I don't think that these are terribly critical to try to tear through right now. Yeah, we're going to skip these. You guys can read these and look into these more. I'm not going to... It seems a bit in the weeds for me. I'm not going to go way off into the weeds with some of this stuff. We're trying to keep this... You know, what applies to most people most of the time. That's it. I'm not trying to go any farther than that. It's already fucking hard enough as it is, okay? Reacquisition, UCC 3-207. Reacquisition of an instrument occurs if it is transferred to a former holder. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm doing, or that's what I've done, actually, would be the correct way to say it. It's done. I'm not doing or trying to do anything. It's done. We are through essentially through fraud, we are going through a reacquisition process, right? Reacquisition of an instrument occurs if it is transferred to a former holder by negotiation or otherwise. A former holder who reacquires the instrument may cancel endorsements made after the reacquirer first became a holder of the instrument. If the cancellation causes the instrument to be payable to the reacquirer or to bearer, the reacquirer may negotiate the instrument. See, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm showing you guys literally what I'm doing in my lawsuits. This is what I'm doing right here. You might not need to read this 400,000 times. You might need to walk around all day long repeating small sections of this over and over and over and over in your head thousands and thousands and thousands of times and coming up with examples and ideas and how could it be and how couldn't it be. That's what I do. That's all I do all day long. I'm on the shitter. That's what I'm doing. I'm eating a cheeseburger. That's what I'm doing. If you want this, maybe that's what you're going to need to do. Okay? If the cancellation causes the instrument to be payable to the reacquirer or to barrier. The reacquirer may negotiate the instrument. An endorser whose endorsement is canceled is discharged. And the discharge is effective against any subsequent holder. So again, this is also going to be a huge part of all of my litigation. Once we get past the horse shit and the childish fucking kindergarten games that these fucking 12-year-old bar card fucking children, these infants and persons of unsound mind themselves, when they're done with their stupid fucking procedural horseshit games, this is where my lawsuits are going. This is what we're going to be talking about. You guys think that they're just going to acquiesce one day. No, they're not. Right now, they won't talk about any of this because they don't understand it and it scares them. Eventually, we are going to be talking about this shit. And this is what we're going to be talking about. And then that's when you know Brandon's close. Brandon's close. Once you start seeing the cases and they start talking about reacquisition and rescission and you start hearing about words like reacquirer. Once you start hearing these kind of words, you know Brandon is fucking on like the 98-yard line. I'm telling you. That's when you'll know. Don't get me wrong, they could call you and just settle any time. I think that's fucking dumb. I mean, if these defense attorneys really do want to play the game and they really do want to figure things out and they really don't want to go down without a fight, if I was on the defense, this is where I would take the conversation. This is where we'd be talking about. Okay? So you tell me you have a lawsuit that talks about this kind of shit. I've never seen it. I've never even heard of it. Maybe they don't want to talk about it. Okay, fine. Let's just settle then. I don't care. I want to talk about it. I think it's a fascinating subject. I want to understand. People comment on my shit and they say, Brandon, why are you trying to understand all this? It's the devil and la 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 la. No, that enemy. This all helps me. I feel great. I feel released from all oppression of the whole financial world. I have no desire to chase money. Money flows to me so easily. I control it with such ease. Money is bashing in my windows trying to get to me. And the reason why is because I respect it. I understand it. And I appreciate it. And I'm taking the time to learn it. Spend this much fucking time trying to learn about your woman. What she thinks. What she enjoys. Why? Her history. Her past. What makes her giggle. Her goals. Her aspirations. Her aspirations as a child. Her career aspirations. Try to take this much interest in anything and whatever it is that you're trying to fucking whatever is going to like you and connect with you. And that's just the way it is. That's all I'm trying to do, bro. People get mad at me because I'm trying to understand shit. It's hilarious. It's like, bro, I'm just trying to understand shit. Like, what the fuck? The fuck you attacking me for? I'm just trying to understand shit. Like, you gonna attack me because I'm trying to fucking understand something? Like, who gives a fuck, bro? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro? Anyways, that's UCC 3-2XX. We still have part 3, part 4. Part 4 is going to be a long one, it looks like. Part 5, part 6, part 6. So this is going to be a 6-part series, most likely. If I don't run out of steam on one of these and decide to cut it into 2 pieces, but most likely won't happen. 4 looks pretty long. Hopefully we can get through that in one shot. And then 5 looks pretty short, but we'll see because 2 looks pretty short. 5 looks shorter. And then 6 looks pretty short. So, okie doke, guys. I'll put this up right now. Very glad that I was able to work out that stupid flashy thing, and hope you guys enjoy this. I'm having a blast with you guys, even though at first I was kind of pissed. I'm feeling better now. I'm feeling this is really cool. Really excited to be here. I hope this is helpful, and see you guys in part 3.